Felix Philipp Schlamberg was born in 1924 to Shiom and Molly Schlamberg in a large Jewish family that included his 7 siblings, Sally, Yetta, Jacob, Rose, Sidney, Meyer, and Lottie. His family resided in Brooklyn in the 1920s and 30s, and in 1938, Philip attended Abraham Lincoln High School in downtown Brooklyn. Philip scored the 99th percentile on his Regents exams, promising that he would have a bright future. Halfway through his senior year of high school, Philip enlisted in the U.S. Army, and as a result, he did not graduate high school. Philip Schlamberg entered the United States Army Air Forces after completing basic training, eventually attaining the rank of first lieutenant. His nickname among his fellow soldiers was Einstein, because of his obvious intelligence. By August of 1945, Philip and his fellow pilots in the 15th Fighter Squadron, based at Iwo Jima, were looking forward to the end of the war. The atomic bombs had been dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki by then, and everyone expected the Japanese to surrender at any time. However, on August 13th, Schlamberg was ordered to head to the pilot's briefing room. There, Schlamberg and his fellow pilots were told that they needed to suit up the following day to escort a group of B-29s for another bombing run over Japanese cities. At this point, according to his commanding officer, Captain Jerry Yellen, Schlamberg began to feel uneasy, as if he had just had a premonition of his own death. He leaned over to Captain Yellen, and at that moment he said, "If I go, Captain, I'm not coming back." The next morning, before they took off, Captain Yellen told Philip, "Just stay on my wing. We've got Dumbos in the air." To make Philip feel better, he also mentioned that all along the 700-mile flight path there were American bombers and ships that would relay the code word Ohio to their squadron if the war was over. By the time the squadron had reached Japanese airspace, they had not yet heard the code word Ohio. At this point, Captain Yellen told the men to drop their external fuel tanks and head in to do their strafing missions on Japanese targets on the ground. As he hit the 90-gallon mark, Captain Yellen gave the order to return home and looked over and saw Schlamberg on his wing and gave him the thumbs up sign. Schlamberg returned the thumbs up sign, and they headed into the clouds. When Captain Yellen emerged from the cloud bank, Schlamberg and his plane were missing. Philip Schlamberg did not respond to radio calls, and his plane was nowhere to be found. Realizing that they would not have enough fuel to make it back if they did a protracted search, and hoping that Schlamberg had simply become lost in the clouds and would find them again, Captain Yellen and the other planes returned to Iwo Jima. When they got there, they found that the war had been over for 3 hours. Schlamberg never returned. Philip Schlamberg was declared missing in action and was later assumed to be killed in action when he did not return, making him one of the last members of the American military to be killed in World War II, if not the very last. Since his plane and his body were never found, First Lieutenant Philip Schlamberg is memorialized in the Courts of the Missing here at the Honolulu Memorial. His name is also on the wall of his high school, Abraham Lincoln High School, along with all of the other names of students who lost their lives in World War II. Philip, we will remember you always. Your young life and bright future you had ahead of you were not sacrificed in vain. And though it cost you everything, we remember that from your sacrifice in war, the most horrible war in human history, the whole planet has experienced a new birth of freedom and peace. Though you are gone, you are not forgotten. You will never be forgotten.